Hi guys, so this is probably one of the hardest videos that I'll ever have to make. Something very tragic happened on Monday to my beautiful Casper. You'll remember him from my videos. He was a rascal. He knocked over plants, he pulled plants out of pots on me, he was always chasing squirrels, and he was very much a hunter dog. And to be fair, he was very, very wild. And I'm saying was, so you're gonna know now that he has passed away. So I'm sorry, I'm the ugliest crier, and I didn't want to cry doing this video, but on Monday I was at my daughter's house and I brought the dogs with me, and I don't even know why I did it, but there's a lovely park which is mostly fenced in just down from her home. So when I was heading home, I thought, you know what, I'll bring them down to the park. And I never, ever, ever let him off the leash. Like, never, because he's, you know, just the type of dog he is. But I have never taken him to her park, which, as I say, is fenced except for the opening of the park, and it's set in off of the road. So when I got down there was nobody in the park. It was probably 4 in the late afternoon, and I was walking them around, and then I thought, you know what, I'll let them have a little run. And well, so anyway, I let them off the leash, and they were playing away and everything was going great, and I was like literally just about to put him back on the leash when, for whatever reason, I don't know, he just took off. He went to the entrance of the park and he ran out the road. I went running after him, as did Penny, and when I got to the road, somebody had caught Penny, and Casper was like, you know, running up and down the road. And there was a woman that, you know, was going slowly in her car, and she was watching out for them. But then as she started to take off, he made a dart across the road in front of her, and she hit him. It wasn't her fault. I take 100% responsibility for what happened. I never let him off the leash. I don't know what possessed me to let him off the leash. But anyway, I heard her hit him, and I went over to him, and he lifted his head and he made a little whimper. And my daughter lives, as I say, on the street, and my daughter is actually a veterinary nurse. She studied, she has a Bachelor of Science degree in veterinary nursing in Ireland, and I picked him up, and there was lovely people there. They said they'd take care of Penny, and I headed towards her house with him, and I thought, well, you know, she might be able to assess how much damage is done, but I, being so unfit, and I'm not the youngest person, I actually could not walk anymore. I think I was in shock, and so I phoned her, and she came, and at this stage he was limp, and at that point, I guess I kind of knew he was dead. And my daughter took him into her house, and she listened for his heart on her stethoscope, and she confirmed that he was dead. I have such guilt. I can't forgive myself. I have such guilt, and please, I know there's people out here who are going to say to me, it's your own fault, you shouldn't let him off the leash, and all of that. I don't need to hear that. I know myself I shouldn't have done it, and I regret it every moment. I can't tell you how much I regret it, but it was a horrible accident. I don't know why. I just don't know what made me do what I did that night. But anyway, I've lost my little man, and Penny has lost her little buddy, and my husband is away on business, so of course that doesn't help. But I wanted to explain why you won't see him anymore in my videos, and maybe it's a lesson to you not to do what I did. and I deeply regret it. So I wasn't going to do a plant video, but I just thought in his honour I'll do a couple of little chores and we'll talk about some plant stuff. And maybe if I can find some pictures of him. Most of my footage of him are videos of him like jumping up on my windowsills and, you know, just being his usual little devilish self. Like he really was a rascal, but one I adored with all my heart. So anyway, I'm going to stop the video and I'm going to try and compose myself, and then I'm going to come back and we're going to do some plant chores. Okay. Hi guys, my name is Grania and this is my channel Jungle Flowers Canada. Thank you so much for joining me. So I'm going to try, I may not even put this video out, but I'm going to try and do some chores and show you some new plants that I purchased. I actually, while my daughter phoned me and announced to myself, because I just am not really in the best place at the moment, I ended up potting up this. There's actually two different Hoya compactas in here. There's the Hoya compacta variegata. This cutting I got from Tony from Quirky Lemon, and the other two are from my original mama, which actually got mealybugs. I had a beautiful big one and it got mealybugs, so they're the only two pieces I have left. And then this piece is the Mauna Loa that I purchased from Crystal Star Nurseries. Now, it actually reverted. So I had to take a cutting of it. So I cut it back to where it was last variegated. Oh, sorry guys, I do have a light behind my camera, but it keeps going dark. So let me see if I can position it a bit better. I hope that that's a bit better, and I hope that it's bright enough. So unfortunately I potted this up without even thinking, and I'm going to put that back in my Fabricor cabinet. Now I pulled this one out because I think there's something happening with it. This here is the Hoya Flavida, which was doing amazing and it was beautiful. When it puts out new leaves, they're very, very dark red. They're absolutely stunning. But I think she might have some root rot now because she is starting to look really, really bad. So I thought we would cut her up and reroot her. I got her as a one leaf cutting from Paula. I'm not sure when, but she was just flourishing, but now she is definitely not happy. So these are her roots, and I'm just going to check them. Yeah, they're kind of pulling apart, guys. Let's have a look and see. They're not all bad, but there's definitely an issue, I think, with her roots. I do sometimes let these dry out. I forget. Well, it's not that I forget. They just dry out very, very quickly. But I am pulling on some of these roots and they are literally just coming away. Can you see there? So I think let's pull off the loose roots, and then let's take a load of cuttings and we'll start again. Now I wanted to just touch on something that I spoke about there earlier about my puppy. As I said, my daughter's very experienced with animals. She actually works for the City of Toronto. She's but also has worked in veterinary practices. She worked in the Humane Society, so she's, you know, she knows animals. And one thing that she did say to me when I got both Penny and Ollie, actually let me start from the beginning. I brought a miniature schnauzer with me from Ireland, and I bought him from a reputable breeder. He came with all his papers. He was it's hard to say, but he was definitely one of my favourite dogs. I've always had dogs. He was like amazing. He was so chilled. Like, he never barked at people. He was just the most chilled little guy you ever came across. He was adorable. And we had another dog which was a cross Sheltie, not Sheltie, yes, a Sheltie Shepherd cross. And we brought the two of them from from Ireland to Canada, and I could open my front door and they would not run out. I mean, they were both two amazing, amazing dogs. Now, Shepherds and Shelties are very, very intelligent, so obviously Ollie got the best of both. But when Ollie died, I decided to get another Schnauzer, so I bought Penny. Penny is adorable, and she has settled down beautifully, but she still is a little neurotic. When like somebody comes to the door, she is like has this high-pitched squeal. She pees when people come. When I take her for a walk, I have to put a barking collar on her because she loses her life when she sees other people and other dogs. And then we bought my beautiful little Casper, and he was insane. I mean, he was the hardest. Like and this isn't, I'm not looking for an excuse as to what happened to him. That was totally my fault. But he was crazy, and he has actually escaped on many occasions. Twice while I was away, he escaped, and you know, he won't come back. He would not listen. And my daughter had said to me, not that long ago, she said, you know, Mum, when you don't buy them from a reputable breeder, you really don't know their background. And although I bought Casper from a woman, a lovely woman, in her own home, and I can't even tell you how much I paid for him, which is totally irrelevant. I would pay triple that to get him back. She said, really, you don't know their ancestry. And I actually think she has a point. And I think for the amount of money I actually paid for Casper, I should have gone to a breeder, because the lineage does make a difference. We don't know what, who they're being bred with. And they're, again, this is not to take any blame off of myself, but they definitely are harder dogs than Leroy was. He definitely was more intelligent and much easier to train. So my advice would be, if you're going to buy a dog and you are going to spend money on it, maybe look at a reputable breeder, because Casper was hilarious, but he was a lot of work. Like, he killed everything in my back garden. He arrived, I have a dog flap in my door, and he arrived in Monday through the flap with a rabbit that was actually bigger than him. Now, they do have a high prey drive, but his was like off the Richter scale. He was difficult to train and difficult to control. So I guess what I'm trying to say is that you need to be careful when you're choosing who you're buying your dogs off of. I bought both my dogs, and maybe it might have been Kijiji, I'm not sure where it was, and I know they say you shouldn't do that, but at the time it was very hard to find them. But even if I had to pay a couple $100 more to go to a reputable breeder, I may have ended up with a dog more of the same temperament of Leroy. So Leroy he had all his papers and all his pedigree, and I met his parents, and his pedigree name was Little Lord Leroy, and that's how we ended up naming him. Sorry, oh, you know what, guys? I see what it wasn't. It wasn't the roots at all. The plant had broken. Look, it had actually snapped. So that's what was wrong. Now, I mean, those roots did need a bit of a stripping. So I'm just going to replant this, and I'm going to chop this one up now for parts, basically. So I would say to you, if you're buying a pedigree, and you know what? I know there's a lot of people out there that will say to you, why are you buying pedigree? You should go to the, what are they called? You should go to shelters. And I've had shelter dogs, and I've had, actually my Schnauzers are the only pedigree dogs I've ever had. And the main reason why I buy them is because they don't shed and they're non-allergic. And I do have allergies, and so does my son. So does my son, and so does my husband. So prior to getting the Schnauzers, I never had a pedigree. I always went to a shelter and got my dogs. And that is very important too. Like, if you don't, so I'm not saying to you just go to breeders to buy your dogs. Please use your shelters. My daughter has worked in shelters, and her dog is a shelter dog. Ollie was a shelter dog that we brought from Ireland. Our 2 dogs prior to that, actually 3 dogs prior to that, were also shelter dogs. So I'm just saying, if you are buying a pedigree, go to a breeder. Anyway, this is my Flavida, and I'm going to chop her up now. I can't actually find any of my pruning shears, so I'm just using the scissors. And I'm glad actually I took this out now and didn't just ignore it. So I'm going to try, I know sometimes it's better to use smaller cuttings, but I'm going to try a mixture of larger and smaller cuttings and see how it works out. So last night I was like quite distraught yesterday, and I know everybody was worried about me. So my daughter came over with my grandson, you know, just to check on me, and he actually said, "Nana, can I stay with you?" Now he does that every now and then, and I said, "Of course you can." So he actually stayed with me last night, and it actually made me feel so good. So I should be showing you guys this. So I'm going to take another cutting here. I'm forgetting that I'm doing a video, guys. So I have to, oh, what did I do there? I just did something stupid. So I basically am going to lose this piece. I don't know, I just lost, you see what I did there? I left no stem. So anyway, I have these cuttings here. I'm going to put them into pan. And let's see if we can get this baby to come back. So she comes out, as I say, a very deep, almost maroon colour, and then she fades back to a green, and she kind of looks like any other Hoya. But with her new leaves, she is quite spectacular. So this is a very pretty plant, the Hoya flavida. So let us get some pan. Yeah, so anyway, it was so lovely to have my grandson with me last night. And he was minding me, he said. I mind you, Nanny. He doesn't know that Casper is dead. We just told him that he's sick. When he was asking for him, he was like, "Where's Casper?" And we said, "Oh, Casper's sick." So, because he's only 2, right? So, anyway, it has been a pretty traumatic few days for me. And as I say, I'm feeling very, very guilty. And poor little Penny doesn't know what's happening, so I have to give her lots of really special attention now. So there we have the Hoya flavida. So let's see how she does, and let's put this piece with the roots. Like the leaves don't look great there. No, you know what, I'm actually just going to discard this. I know the roots are actually, you know, looking okay, but I'm actually just going to discard it. So I'll find another plant to put in this pot, because I hang these on the inside of my Fabicor cabinets. So let's stick flavida in there, because I'm actually starting now. I'm taking cuttings and I don't know what I've taken cuttings of. I want to show you what Paula and I just bought. I hope you can see it. Actually, let me come here. We bought the Hoya Argentea Princess. Isn't she lovely? Let me just try and get her to the little squares. Isn't she stunning? Now, she came in this mix, which is a coco-coir soil mix, and she has lovely roots. Let me show you. And to be honest, if it was any other plant, I would take her out of it and put her in pan. But because this plant is expensive, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to leave well enough alone. I did notice a new growth point coming in her. It's hard to see it, but I did. It's so dark in here tonight. I do not know what's going on. I have this light on and I have all my other lights on, and I can't see anything, but I did see a growth point, so I'm excited. So once this grows, I take a cutting for Paula, and then we both have a cutting. I said it to you guys before, it's a great way to acquire more expensive plants, and Paula and I have been doing it quite a lot lately. This here is the Hoya Rhyme. I purchased this off Paula, and you can see she has just put out a new leaf, and I have her in here, and she does have roots. But just right now, I'm not going to transplant her because I kind of don't have the energy, but I wanted to show her to you. So the Hoya Rhyme. And then this here, I have to think, I thought of the name of this earlier, now I can't think of it. I think it's the Lacanosa Royal Flush. If I'm wrong, I will put the name on the screen. Isn't that spectacular. The splash is so beautiful on it, and it is putting out new leaves. Can you see there? And oops, let me see. Okay, so she doesn't have a huge, she kind of fell out there. She hasn't huge roots, but obviously they're doing okay. Actually, is this, I think what I did here was I put my pon on the bottom, and then the substrate that Paula gave her to me in, I put on the top. So I think I'm just going to top her up with my pon and give her some more water, and hopefully she will turn into a beautiful plant. I love the Lacanosa, but I have to tell you, I have struggled with the Lacanosa. I don't know if anybody else has. Like, if you watched my last video where I did my the tour of my kitchen, you'll see my Lacanosa Silver. She's kind of, you know, she's on and off the struggle bus. My Lacanosa Black was on the struggle bus. My Hoya, it's not the Lacanosa, but it's very similar. The Croniana Silver, that has been on the struggle bus. So these small leaf ones for me can sometimes be a challenge. Also my Heuschkeliana variegated, I think I've almost killed my second one. So there are some plants that I struggle with more than others, and Lacanosa seems to be one, although this, like I say, has put out new leaves, and it is very, very beautiful. Now, I also bought this Lacanosa variegated. Paula and I purchased this one together. Isn't she a cutie? I will tell you what I was very surprised about was how small it is. Like these leaves, maybe they're just juvenile leaves, but I was, you know, obviously you see a photo of them, you think you're going to get a different plant. Like, I thought that the leaves would be similar to this. So can you see how different the size of the leaves are? It's focusing on my face. Can you see how different the size of the leaves are? So I was quite surprised that they were so small. So I put her in my pon, and like, she's fine, she's doing fine. We've had her a couple of weeks now. I don't see roots really yet, although I think she is starting to root. So again, when she gets bigger, we will cut her. I mean, technically I could take another cut, but because the leaves are so small, I said I would leave it for a little bit and then I'll take some cuttings for Paula. And then last but not least, I have to show you this. So if you watched my video, why won't this focus on? If you watched my video where Quirky Lemon gave me some cuttings, she gave me this outer variegated Polyneura, and can you see she has 2 new leaves? I'm so impressed with this plant. It has grown beautifully, and she's in my Fabricor cabinet also, and I'm really happy to see this growth. Like, that's all I'm going to speak about today. I'm sure some of you will be very sad to hear what happened to my poor Casper, and again, I'd say to you, please be kind. Nobody can make me feel any worse than I feel myself. So let's offer this video up in his honour to the rascal, or the hooligan. What did I call him? I gave him all these fantastic names. We'll offer this video up to him, and I will miss him terribly, and I'm sure you guys will too. But anyway, thank you so much for joining me. If you watched to the end, don't forget to put the green heart emoji in the comments, and take care, and thank you for giving me time out of your busy day. Take care.